Government meeting with credit rating agencies as the country's economic outlook and position stands in the balance following the Baha Mar ordeal.
Prime Minister of the Right Honorable Perry Christie, who is also the Minister of Finance, and the State Minister for Finance, the Honorable Michael Halkitis, leaving Parliament early this morning to meet with credit rating agencies over what the country's economic projection might be, with Baha Mar declaring Chapter 11 bankruptcy and still not yet opening. In fact, with no results in from those talks in China, more questions are surfacing tonight on the impact of this issue. Well, our Clint Watson has been following this developing story for several days now, and he spoke exclusively with the State Minister of Finance today following that critical meeting this morning. Clint, what can you tell us?
Well, I'll tell you, I guess we can begin by saying, first of all, there is some good news tonight regarding that meeting this morning with the credit agencies and the government. But there's still a dark cloud of concern looming over those talks in China as the team touches down in the capital this morning. But of course, the ball got rolling this morning with that meeting.
So there is no immediate threat of any downgrade. I think what they are looking for is how that situation resolves itself. And the impact on the tourism economy and on our economy as a whole.
And this position by international credit rating agencies is something government has worked to secure as it anticipates a speedy resolution to the Baha Mar dilemma. State Minister for Finance Michael Halkitis says he and Prime Minister Christie gave certain assurances to the agencies as they met Wednesday morning for introductory meetings.
We were able to show them that notwithstanding the difficulties of that very important development, there are other developments going on which will create some employment and contribute to the economy. But having said all of that, it's in our interest to make sure that we try and resolve the situation as soon as possible. We were able to brief them a bit on the developments at Baha Mar, which they, as you know, had flagged in their credit assessment that they released about a week ago. And so we were able to give them a bit of an update on that.
Minister Halkitis maintains some level of optimism that the country won't receive a further downgrade, but again admits that the country's upcoming rating will be hinged on the outcome of the Baha Mar talks and the resort's subsequent opening.
In their assessment, they said that what they were looking at was a speedy resolution, and they were concerned that the developments at Baha Mar, if they were not resolved, could lead to a drag on the economy. And so there is no immediate threat of any downgrade. I think what they are looking for is how that situation resolves itself and the impact on the tourism economy and on our economy as a whole.
Minister Halkitis says a government fiscal reform plan to reduce the deficit, introduce VAT, and put the country on a more stable footing has worked, and so he is confident these factors will play a positive role in the country's projection. And with the weight heavy in the balance on tourism, Minister Wilchcombe is confident that his figures will hold steady without the impact of Baha Mar rooms. He says the country's reputation has not been negatively impacted, but there are issues with the developer's reputation. He confirmed that the brands Hyatt, Rosewood, and SLS are still holding strong.
They're still flying their flags at this moment, and we are still optimistic. But I know that the negotiations are continuing. We're waiting for a report, but we are hoping that the brands will remain. Obviously, the long delay has caused some concern for everyone, inclusive of the brands. But at the same time, they have not lost faith. And they have a view that once the property is operational, it's going to be one of the most successful in the entire Caribbean. So we're very optimistic about it.
As for the government and Baha Mar's partnership for marketing the resort, Minister Wilchcombe says that's on hold.
We agreed to $20 million, up to $14 million was spent so far, and we were holding and waiting. But we are prepared tomorrow to begin our marketing. Of course, we're continuing to monitor all that's said about the Bahamas, all that's said about Baha Mar, wherever it's being said. And we are continuing to move toward increasing our airlift. In fact, we have many of the airlines on standby, aware of the fact that once we get word, we can begin the marketing.
Now, of course, all the attention is, of course, on that meeting in China, and mum's still the word with regards to those talks in China. The team is expected back in the morning. Minister Halkitis did not comment on how those meetings went and did not want to address rumors that the talks failed. However, he said there may be an update or an address from Prime Minister Christie to the nation following the team's arrival tomorrow. Live in the newsroom, I'm Clint Watson.